Hey guys, hello and welcome to Spud Life with me, your host, Tatty Tim. Okay, so without further ado, let's crack on with this week's episode. Yes, it's episode 3. Get, we're on a roll. It's been a bit of a hiatus because I've had a bit of a cold. And you don't want me coughing and spluttering in your ear, do you, while you're listening to this? Snuggled up in bed with your cocoa or your hot milk or your Horlicks. So anyway, episode 3. Here we go. The firefighter years. Yeah, I'm a firefighter. I was a twisted firefighter. Yep, back in 1999, my journey began as a part-time firefighter here at Penrith. And wow, what a journey that was. It was fan-bloody-tastic. I loved it. Unfortunately, I got injured on duty, and I mean, I had to be sort of pensioned off and got rid of. So, which was sad at the time, but you kind of, these things happen, so you kind of get used to it. And it's one of the best parts of my life I think I've ever had. Met some amazing guys and girls. Had some great times. Got some really good friends from it. Got some crazy stories to tell you, and yeah, let's get cracking, eh? So yeah, it was back in 1999. It was the summer of 1999, and there was a few guys that had come up to me in town, and they sort of said, "Oh, you'd be they're recruiting at Penrith. You'd make a good fireman." I was like, "Well, yeah." So I was, most guys, and a lot of girls now as well. I don't think it was such a girl thing as it is now. Obviously, things have changed for the better, but most guys, I think, have this sort of image of being a fireman and doing all the fireman-y things that people think firemen do, which you don't. So it's funny. So yeah, I thought, I'll give that a whiz. I'll give it a try, see what happens. So I kind of filled in all the paperwork, got my application sent off, got an interview. Now, an interview for the fire service isn't like an interview for a normal job, as you can imagine. So the interview it was over a day, and it was a lot of hose running which is involved. So basically, in the fire service, they have these massive 25 metre lengths of 45 millimetre diameter hose, which are rolled up in the side of the fire engine and rolled out when you get to a job. So they do a thing called hose running, which is basically you put your foot on the end of the hose. You lift, there's two sort of lugs on either side, and you lift that above your head, and you're sort of, I'm sitting here now in the caravan doing this, and you have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm kind of twisting the hose reel above my head, and you're turning it in like a sort of clockwise direction, and you're running at the same time, and it kind of, the hose runs out, and then you're supposed to get to the other end, and then you underrun it, which is like you run back again. So it's 25 metres long, so you run back again, underrunning it, and that's to justify. Justify is the wrong word. What is it supposed to do? It's supposed to represent. That's the word I'm looking for. Represent that you're getting rid of all the water. So you run your hose, run it back, and then you get to the other end. Then you run back to the other side, and then you roll it all back up again. And you start at the beginning. So you're backwards and forwards. So you're running what's that? 75 metres, and you're running. But what they do, they put you in fire kit. So you think you're fit and you're active and everything else, and you've trained for it. But when you put in fire kit, I tell you, it's a leveller. So you're running in boots. You've got a helmet on. You've got fire kit on, and until you've actually done it, you don't know what it's like. And obviously everybody there, nobody knows what it's like. Everyone can run marathons and do all sorts of fitnessy things, but hose running is a different ball game completely. So anyway, you do a lot of hose running, and that's just to basically check your fitness out and make sure you're fit. So did a few of those. Then you have to climb a ladder to make sure that you're not afraid of heights. And this was in the good old days before there was health and safety. So you climb up the top of the ladder, which was at the top of the drill tower, which is approximately 3 stories high. So it's in Penrith. What you're looking at, the height of the George Hotel, probably the top of the monument maybe. And then So you're there, no harness or anything on. There's somebody at the bottom of the ladder, foot in the ladder, to make sure it doesn't slip away from you. And you've been taught at the bottom how to do a leg lock. So a leg lock is you kind of keep one leg where it is, put another. You step down a rung, and then you put one leg through, and you keep it. You sort of hook on with your foot. It sounds a bit weird, isn't it? I'm absolutely crap at describing. I can show you how to do it, but that's not good, is it, on audio? It's like, what are you on about? So anyway, you do this leg lock, and then you have to lean backwards with your arms outstretched, and just to prove that you're not afraid of heights. So you're 3/4 up, your arms are outstretched in sort of crucifix sort of position, and you have to lean back, but you have to lean back far enough because the instructors are at the bottom of the ladder holding up 2 cards with letters in, and obviously the letters change all the time, and you have to shout the letters out to prove that you've leant back far enough. So that was a bit of an eye-opener, but it proves that you're not afraid of heights, which obviously you can't really be afraid of heights if you're going to be a firefighter, can you? Then one of the other I was going to say quests. Quest is a bit dramatic, isn't it? No, one of the other things you had to do, you had to basically read a passage from a book, just basically to prove you could read, which is a bit, So I did that. I did that quite easily. That was probably the easiest bit of the day. Then you have to get into they put you in like a BA sit, which is a breathing apparatus kit. So basically, it's the classic bottle on your back. They put the breathing apparatus over your face, but you're not under air because obviously you haven't been trained how to do it. So what they do, they put this shower cap over the visor, so you can't see where you're going. It's kind of like a white sort of foggy. You can basically make out shadows. And from there, you then have to go into this room. You're kind of guided into this room, and you're told to sort of make your way through this sort of cagey type thing. And the cage is way smaller than my stall. You imagine the table at my stall. So that's the size of this cage that you're kind of in. And you're kind of crawling, but you don't know that at the time. You're just told to get into this thing, and you're crawling through this thing, and you kind of crawl out the other end. I think it's got a bit of a turn in it, and that was just to basically make sure that you weren't claustrophobic. Once you've ticked off all of these and you've got up, you then go upstairs into the one of the main rooms, and then you have your big interview in front of 3 sort of officers. So I had the interview, and obviously passed that and was in. So I think it was about another fortnight, 3 weeks, I think, like that. And then you go down to basic training. Basic training is like a 2-week intensive course. When I did it, it was down in Barra. And man, it's just, like I said, this was in the good old days, pre health and safety, pre everything. It was kind of like, this was a time when guys, they'd shout and swear at you. They didn't obviously hit you, but you didn't kind of know that. They were in your face. You could smell the breath. The spittle was coming off them while they were shouting at you. I'll tell you, I'm warning you now, there's going to be a bit of swearing in this podcast because it was pretty full on. So anyway, it turns out there was 4 of us went down to Barra. We'd sort of semi-met on drill nights. There was a drill night, used to be on Tuesday nights at Penrith, and we used to go down to drill night. We just sort of met the crew, met the rest of the team, and sort of met each other, and then we just kind of worked out who was going to be driving and going down to Barra. I'm the world's worst driver, so I failed the driving. Can you believe it? Just a simple driving test. Can you drive a Land Rover? Turns out I couldn't. Just didn't have power steering, that's my excuse. So, but anyway, it got me out driving down to Barra, so while everyone else was knackered, I was having a nice little sleep in the back, so it worked well. There's a method in my madness. So yeah, so we worked out that where we were gonna be, and gets up. So Monday morning, off we get bright and early. Got all our kit in the back of the thing. We didn't have any fire kit with us. I think they provided it with that. All we had was our drill kit, which is kind of like your shirt, t-shirt, your sort of fatigues, and your shoes. And off we went down to sunny Barra, the world's biggest cul-de-sac. Get down to the station, and then it's like, boom, full on, no niceties. Right, you're right, get your fucking kit on. What are you fucking doing? Right, get out. Blah, blah, blah. It was like, boom, instantly you were sort of thrown into the deep end. Right, we can do fucking hose running. You're all now to hose run. Anybody how can I describe it? There was like a line, so there was about 6 or 7 of you in a line, and it was, if anybody's hose went over this line, everybody had to do it again. So we were kind of like run ragged basically all morning long. You were constantly backwards and forwards because even with the best will in the world, you cannot help the end of the hose reel coming off that line. It's impossible. So, and they knew that, but they were just testing you. All they're doing is making sure that you're going to do, what you're told to do when the shit hits the fan, which is what you're there to do when you're a fireman in any emergency service. So it was kind of good, but there's some guys that just couldn't hack it, man. They were like, there was this one guy who was an ex-Marine of all things, and he's like, fuck this. And he just quit. And it was like, fucking hell. And then there was guys spewing up because they were knackered. It was crazy. Absolutely meant it. Wasn't even that hot, and it was like people were spewing, and you were absolutely fucked. You were knackered. It was like the worst thing you could possibly ever do. So then it was, right, dinner time. Get your kit off. So you get all your fire kit off, back in your kit. You have a little inspection to make sure you're all clean and tidy. You went in and had something to eat, but you didn't want, even though you were starving, you didn't want too much to do because they were telling you that you were going to do hose running again in the afternoon. And the last thing you want to do when you've got a full belly is start running yourself ragged around this fire ground. Turns out we didn't do much of it in the afternoon. It was just the morning. They just beasted you in the morning just to see what we're all made of, and it kind of did get rid of a few pretty quickly. So I was quite surprised at. So yeah, so the next, I can't remember what we did in the afternoon, but over the next few days we did some absolutely mad stuff that you've never done before. And the one of the things we had to do, we got into they took us everywhere in these old fire engines, and we went up to like I say, we were down in Barra, and on the coast there was a load of these old World War II air raid shelters. So they took us into these underground, into these things, and says, right, what we're going to do now is show you, we're going to light a fire, and you've got to stay in here for as long as you possibly can, just so you know what the effects of a fire is. I can't see that they do this nowadays. I really can't. But it was good because it gave you that impression, because not many people have ever been in a fire, so they know what it's like, And it was so, I kind of got where they were coming from with it. So basically, we're all standing in there, no BA kit, and all we had on was our fire kit. They light this fire in the corner, and it gets going. It's very smoky, and it's kind of like, and you can see the smoke layer starting to sort of work its way down, because basically, obviously, it rises and then it kind of hits down. It's less, and it eats more and more oxygen. So, right, there you go. As the smoke's coming down, right, you're like, crouch down, get some air. So we're crouching down, and then we stand up again. And now you've got to think, right, the guys, they're in BA, so they breathe in nice, clean, fair oxygen. We're just sucking in lungfuls of smoky smoke. So, right, stand up. You stand up, you're taking your breath. It's like, oh my God, it's like you're coughing and spluttering. Your eyes are streaming. You imagine the worst onion you've ever cut in your life, and then times it by 1,000,000. That's what your eyes are like. It's kind of like your eyes are absolutely streaming like crazy, and then you can't breathe. So you're like, by this time, right, you're like at the deck. So this time you're on the floor. You're absolutely prone on the floor, because that's the only place where there's any clean air to breathe. Right, stand up again. A few people had legs it by there. They couldn't hack that, but they didn't quit. It just couldn't hack the fact that they were in this environment that human beings aren't supposed to be. So, yeah, right, get up, and then, right, get out as quick as you can. So it's like, get a lung full of air and just leg it. So got in, and then they put the fire out, and it was like, then you're all outside coughing and spluttering and looking like you're spewing up and that, even though you weren't. But you can imagine what it's like, absolutely mental, really, really mental. So that was good. I kind of, in a weird way, you kind of enjoyed that, because it did give you that, how can I say, that experience of what it is like. So when you're in a fire rescuing somebody, you know what they're going through. And most of the week, the first week in particular, was all made up of just training drills, getting used to obviously knowing how the pump works on a fire engine, which is quite crucial when you're at a fire, and learning sort of water ratios, how much is in it, how long a tank's going to last, that sort of thing, and how the pump works, different scenarios using pumps up and down the ladders. So it was kind of like there was a lot of running involved. There's a hell of a lot of running involved, and it's like I say, it's a leveler when you've all got fire kit on. I don't care how fit anybody is. As soon as you put fire kit on and a helmet and boots and gloves, it levels the playing field completely. And I think a lot of it is the same with everything. A lot of it is just that mental attitude, and I think that's what the guys are trying to, wheedle out the wheat from the chaff. And that it was there was a good cop, bad cop. We had this guy called Sandy. He was the good cop. And what was the other guy called? I can't remember his name, but he was from out west, and what a cracking fella he was. He was a bad cop, but he wasn't. Do you know what I mean? He was a right good laugh, because we were all in this hotel we were all stopping in the same hotel at night, so it was brilliant. You'd meet up after lunch in the bar, after tea in the bar, and it would be you'd have a couple of drinks, and it was all right. And he'd kind of say, after a while, once he got to know you, obviously at first it was a bit standoffish, because you got to keep that distance and that sort of that bit of authority between us. But once they got to know you, and then as your personality, it was good. They were good, really good laugh. But anyway, yeah. So we went from doing a lot of these drills and things, and then we did some, you do some mad stuff. So you did this thing called branch out of control. So like I said earlier, a branch is the thing that you put in the end of a hose. So that's the thing that the water squirts out of, and that's separate. So you click that into the hose, and these hoses are 45 millimetres in diameter, so they're quite thick. You imagine a big anaconda, imagine a big snake, so it's like that, and about the same sort of length, so they're 25 metres long. So one of the things they do is called a branch out of control, and this is to represent exactly that somebody's gone down and the branch is then flipping about out of control. So you imagine said anaconda going crazy, flipping about, just going mental, with like this big chunk of metal at the end of it. So basically what they did, they took us down to Walney Islands, and they got this lovely bit of grass. It was lovely, pristine. It was quite a nice autumn morning, because it was in September when I did my basic. And the two training subs, they come down and says, right lads, we're doing branch out control, this is how you do it. So they got this branch, and it was flipping like crazy, going absolutely mental, water pissing out the end of it. And it was like, right, what you do, you start at the one end, so you start at the nearest to the pump end as possible, and you crawl, the two of you, so one in the front, one behind, and you crawl on your belly over the top of the hose. And as you can imagine, you're crawling along, like what I'm doing now, crawling along, and you kind of get to the end of the where the branch is, and you pick it up, and you have to, and that's the difficult bit, right? Because that's where the force of the water is. Because you've all seen water cannons on television. You all know the power of water when it's coming out. So this is a 3 to 4 bar pressure, which doesn't mean a lot for people that aren't firefighters, but it's quite a big lot of pressure, and I'll tell you what happens in a minute. So they put it up, and they basically, you get hold of it and you point it up back towards the target, which is usually like a big bit of concrete or a box or something, or up in the drill tower, to prove you're fighting it back at the fire. So they did that, absolute textbook, perfect. Obviously they're the training subs, they know what they're doing. This perfect demonstration of how to get a branch out of control back under control. Brilliant. Looks piece of piss. Right, we'll all do that. Like I said, we did on this beautiful little pristine piece of grass. This is right, lads, now it's your turn. So what they did next, they proceeded to blast all of that nice bit of grass that was bone dry with the hose, so it was now a quagmire. It was out absolutely filthy. Thanks, fellas. That's fantastic. So we'll get through it. I did mine. We were coupled up. I did mine. Brilliant. Absolutely loved it. It's kind of scary, but not scary, if that makes sense, because you're kind of enjoying it. A bit of an adrenaline rush. It's good. So anyway, because you've got this crazy fucking pipe that's going mental, and you're putting it under control. It was good. So anyway, it was almost the last couple, right? They turn up, and it was like the weediest little guy that you can imagine. No disrespect, but he wasn't. You know what I mean? He wasn't. He wasn't a big fella, and I'm pretty sure he was the only. There was 2 girls on the course, and I think he was with one of the girls. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was. So anyway, they crawl up right at the end, go crawling up the hose, and they're getting it. They got absolutely spot on. Get to the end, and instead of pointing it at the target, which you're supposed to do, for some reason, they pointed at the floor. They fucking shoot up into the sky like a pair of fucking firework rockets. And then a split second later, both hit the deck. The branch is out of control again. The fucking going mental right by their heads. And the trainers was fucking turn it off. So turn the pump off, and the branch, like, it's just dies to death, as you can imagine. There's no water going through it. And these pair are just looking dazed and confused on the floor. It's like, he's all, what the fuck did you point it at the floor for? They went up, I swear to God, they must have gone up about 10 foot easy. Absolute easily. And it was the funniest thing we'd ever seen. But it was so quick, but so... you know, one of them things that's like so slow but so quick. Oh man, that was so fucking funny. And once they realised no one was injured, the subs, like, you know, sort of the funny side of it, and they never lived that down then for the rest of the training course. I can't think what they call them, but that's some witty name for them. But oh mate, that was funny as fuck. So we get back to the fire station. You have to clean off all your kit, get inspected again just before the next inspection. And it's like everything's done at 100 miles an hour. There's no like time to thing. It's like, right, you're like getting your fucking kit, get your fire kit, get your PK kit on, get your. It's everything was just 1,000,000 miles an hour. And the one it could have been that same afternoon, I'm not sure, but we did the old classic fireman's lift that everybody knows. So, I mean, to be fair, you are paired with people of a similar sort of size and weight. So me and Harry get paired together, and obviously Harry was from Penrith. I didn't know Harry before we joined, but obviously I know him now very well. So me and Harry, the 2 fat bastards, get paired together. Up we go. Like I said, no health and safety, just the good old fashioned get up that ladder. But I mean, to be fair, I think we did have a harness on one of us. I think it was either, I don't think the person climbing up the ladder had the harness on, just in case you fell, but I think the casualty did. I could be wrong, but I think that was how it went. So anyway, you think, yeah, fireman's lift, this is so cool, this is like the coolest, everyone thinks fireman's lift is so cool. It ain't cool when you're carrying some 15-stone lump up and down a ladder that is like a dead weight. That ain't cool. I tell you what, that ain't cool at all. It's not even cool if you're a casualty and you're just like, you think, fucking hell, any minute I'm going to fall off this fucker. And I think that it could just be one of them urban myths, but they said that someone did fall off, bang their head and died. It's like, oh, great. That's just what you want to hear. I think that was bullshit, personally. But at the time, when you're all G'd up and you're thinking, fucking hell, and you're looking up and you're 3 floors up and you're just holding on and just one person holding with that fireman's lift, it's like, jeez, man. So yeah, that was it. And then at the end of that fortnight, we did a few other things. It was fairly basic stuff that you did. There was nothing really super interesting or exciting that went on. It was just like you learnt a lot of new skills, which are basically sort of fireground skills. And then you move on to week 2. And week 2, where did we had to go down to Barra, to this hotel we were stopping in, but we did a lot more work down at Kendal, because even though there was a big purpose-built hot and firehouse at Barra, it hadn't been commissioned yet. It was that new, it wasn't working, so it all looked the part, but you couldn't do anything, so we had to go down to Kendal, or up to Kendal I should say. And they've got this hot room underneath the station. So it's basically, you imagine a sauna, and then kind of times that by 10, put your fire kit on, put your helmet on, your gloves on, everything else, get into this room and start going through all these different scenarios that the drill instructors are giving us, which were pretty intense, to be fair. So one of them is you go into this room and it's like you crouch down. You can't stand up in it for a start off, even if you wanted to. So you're crouching down anyway. But you know that awful crouch position that's not comfortable, but it's not uncomfortable. It is fucking uncomfortable, to be fair. So we're in there, and there's all sorts of shit in there. There's like hoses, there's big lorry tyres, there's bits of wood, there's pallets, there's all sorts of shit, and it's it's like this crazy sort of metal maze. It's pitch black, and you're getting in there, and what they tell you, I mean, obviously they don't just chuck you in. You've had some classroom sort of lessons beforehand, and you've done all your BA stuff outside. So this was about the second day, maybe. You've done a day of kind of theory and working and trying BA sits on and getting used to breathing in and stuff. And then the second day, you kind of basically for the rest of the week, you're full on doing stuff in BA and getting used to it and see what it's really like to wear. So it says, right, you're getting in, and you've got you have to do this left-hand search. So you have to do this. Is just the teacher had to do these specific ways to search things. So you're doing these searches, and it says, right, left-hand search. Reporters of casualties in there. There's a fire in the so-and-so. So you've got to go in, locate the seat of the fire, put that out depending on what your role is, or you've got to go in and you've got to locate the casualty. So it's like, right, fair dose, as you go in. It's like I say, it's this awful position that you're in. It's kind of like, it's not standing, but it's not crouching, but it's not kneeling. It's just fucking horrible. So you go in, and it's unbelievably hot instantly. The minute you get, it's like humidity is just insane. It's like 10 million %. So you're sweating the second you get in there. You go in, and then there's, right, in you go. You've been briefed. You go in, right, what's your brief? You give the person the thing. You give them your this thing that you have on your BA set to prove who you are and where you are, what time you went in. In you go, off you go, right, blah, blah, blah. Flucking around. You have to move all these tyres out the way, because there's instructors in there with BA set on, and they're kind of blocking your passage to make, as if there'd been a part of a building collapse or something like that, just to give you scenarios of what things are like. So you're moving tyres out the way, you're moving bloody telegraph poles out the way, and planks of wood and pallets and all sorts of shit. And then you get to the casualty, you find the casualties. Now it's not dark, it's not like it is in a real fire, but it's dark enough. So you find this casualty, and then you get them out, and then I'm not sure what the casualties are like then, but in them days they were just like this 15-stone sandbag shaped like a human. And if anybody have done these sort of strongman things with bags of sand and things, and you stick them on your shoulders, and it's nothing like that. Well, it kind of is, but it isn't. It's like this human-shaped monstrosity that just doesn't give you any leeway. It's just like literally a dead weight, and you've got to supposed to do this particular way of carrying them in and out. So, but that doesn't work when you're going in there. Plus, you've got to remember now the temperature is 100+ degrees, and it's like you've been fire kit. You're constantly checking your air. You're sweating like a motherfucker, and it's like Jesus Christ. So you grab the casualty. You're going back. Right, piece of piss. Go back. Go through there. What have the good old instructors done on your way back? They've reblocked your exit, so you've got to shift all of them fucking tyres again, shift all of them pallets, shift all of them telegraph poles. At the same time, your oxygen's really low because you're sweating and breathing like crazy. So you've got to get out. You're conscious that you've only got a certain amount of time left in your thing. You're conscious that you've got a casualty that you've got to get out as quickly as possible. So it's like absolutely, it's pretty full on. It's a good. It does give you a good taste of what it's actually like, to be in a proper fire, and it's as kind of realistic as the real thing. To be fair, in the few that I've been in, there wasn't a lot apart from the heat's obviously a lot more in a real fire, and the visibility is fucking zero. But it was as good as you can get without actually chucking people into burning buildings. So anyway, we do that in the morning, and then I think it was the afternoon. I think it was the same day. I mean, man, it was a long time ago now. It took in 99, so what was that? A lot of years ago. So gets into the afternoon, and it was just like, if this was to, I don't know what they did really, but why they did it, but you had to go into you had to do like a sort of left-hand search, and then you had to go through this sewer tunnel. So they got this sewer tunnel. It's all properly concreted in and laid there. It's a proper part of the thing, and you have to go in and do this left-hand search, and part of it involves getting through this sewer tunnel and coming out the other end and continuing your merry way onwards. So everyone gets through. I think it was in teams of 4. Everyone gets through. I'm the last one in, right? You know what's coming next, don't you? You know it. So you're in there, and basically what you've got to do, you've got to get fully on there's barely enough space for, a big guy. So the smaller guys, the little fella that got flung about by the hose pipe, he just scurried in and out like a little rat up a drain pipe. It was a piece of him. Now, for the bigger person amongst the crew, namely me, it was kind of like I had to go in a sort of Superman position. So imagine Superman flying. So I get down on my belly, hands right in front of me, and you're pulling forward with your fingertips as much as you can. So you got your gloves on, you got full fire kit on, the oxygen bottle on your back is scraping against the top of the sewer pipe that you're in, and you're kind of pushing yourself forward, and you're trying not to panic. And I didn't particularly panic at that point, but for some reason I got stuck smack in the middle. So it's like, oh mate, fucking hell, I only I could do that. I don't know what happened, but I think I must have panicked a bit. I've got to have. So my breathing was kind of, and it was kind of like you're in this, and all you can hear is your own breathing. You've got no BA, you've got no comms at that point. So literally all you can do is shout. So I'm there, I'm stuck, and I'm kind of like, because you kind of, I don't know if anyone's ever been in a similar situation. You probably haven't, but you do kind of swell up, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? You kind of like, you don't shrink, you kind of tense, and you kind of get bigger, and I kind of basically filled the hole with my body. So, and I couldn't budge to save my life. So they were all like, "Where's he at?" And I was saying, "I'm going. I'm fucking stuck. I'm stuck. I can't fucking move. I can't fucking move." And they're all, "Is he saying something? What's he doing?" And they're going, Tim, come on. And I'm thinking, fucking hell, don't forget I'm here, and go for your lunch break and come back, go for like a tea break, leave me here while I slowly suffocate in this like fake sewer system that you've rigged up. So it's like, and then I could hear, "I think he's stuck." "Are you stuck, Tim?" "I think he's stuck. I can't see. He's not moving." "Is he all right? Tim, are you all right? Are you all right?" And obviously you can't say nothing because you've got no comms. And even if you did have comms, you can't even click the button. You got like a clicker that opens it up. So you couldn't have done it because your arms are outstretched like Superman. So there I am, like a stuck Superman in a sewer pipe, not being able to budge. They can't kind of get me because I'm too far in at one end to grab hold of me, and there's nothing they can grab hold of in it because it's just my gloves. And then the other end, they can't pull me back out the other way. So what they did, they kind of got this. Harry got in, and he got in sort of feet first from the back, and he pushed with his legs against my boots, so his boots, and then that enabled me to be pushed forward a little bit, and I was helping as much as I could and trying not to panic. But you can imagine at that point, you're fucking panicking. I don't care who you are. You think, fuck me, I am going to die in this sewer pipe. It's like, Jesus Christ. Then eventually they got my fingertips, and they managed to like pull me out. I'm not sure if they pulled my glove off or not, but I was gripping on for dear life. They got me out, and I was I glad to get out of there. I just ran out of there as quick as I could. BA set off, hood off, the lot, helmet off. Fucking panting for air. It was like, fucking hell. That was a scary move. But it was kind of, I'm weird, aren't I? It was good as well. So, I mean, looking back, it wasn't good at the time, but it kind of was about 10 minutes later. I'll get over things pretty quick. So, yeah, 2 weeks of fun and frolics down in Barra, and then that was it. I was classed as a firefighter. Got to be, what did you get? Did you get a cap badge? I can't remember. What did we get? I think we got our own helmet. We did. I'm pretty sure we got our own helmet, which was pretty smart. They were kind of old school helmets in them days. Look a bit like a World War One sort of Tommy, that sort of helmet with a visor on the front. So, and then that's it. You're in, and you get given the next time you go to the drill night on a Tuesday night, you're part of the team. You're still not classed as a fully fledged firefighter, because you still have like a 2-year, not probation period, but like a learning period where you're given so it was 6, 9 and 18 months that you had sort of exams and tests that you had to sort of go through to prove that you've been learning on the job. But apart from that, you get given your alerter, and that's it, you're part of the team. So let's have a little quick advert, see who's sponsoring this week's episode, and then we shall continue with some more stories from the firefighter side. Today's episode of Spud Life is brought to you by Tatty Tim's world famous baked potatoes. Are you looking for a delicious lunch when you're in Penrith Town Centre? Then you need a Tatty Tim's. He's got it all. He's got chilli, he's got curry, he's got coleslaw if you're in a hurry. And don't forget, he's got everybody's favourite. He's got cheese and beans, baby. Yeah, Tatty Tim's is not available on Sundays or Mondays, but check out his Facebook and Instagram pages for more delicious fun. Tatty Tim's Penrith. Big thanks to Tatty Tim's for sponsoring this week's episode. Okay, so back to it. Yeah, so we're back on. We've all passed through. Flying colours, we've all passed great. So there's 4 new recruits now up at Penrith, all as keen as mustard and ready to go. And we were drilled mercilessly. Just when we thought we'd seen the last of hose running, nope, it was back with a vengeance. Every Tuesday night, guaranteed, I would go home soaking wet, absolutely covered in sweat, whether it was the middle of winter or the middle of summer, it didn't matter. See crazy, insane drills up and down ladders. And it was great though, because it honed your skills, kept you sharp. But you know what the funny thing is? The first kind of half a dozen shouts that I went on, I didn't use any of those skills that I'd learnt at all. They were all RTCs, road traffic collisions. So, and I think it has completely changed now, as far as I know. But back then, we did no RTC training at all. And yet, Penrith, being where it's situated on the, literally on the junction of the M6 and the A66, two of the probably busiest roads in Britain, it was crazy to think that we didn't do any sort of RTC training, but we didn't. And I learnt a lot of that on the job. But it was, it was still good though. It was still good. I do remember my very first shout. Yeah, it was to. There was a smokehouse at a place called Broome Hall. A Broome Hall is like this old hall near Penrith. It's about 5 minutes away from Penrith, just through Eamon Bridge, and it's an old sort of hall from, I don't know, Middle Ages sort of era, and they've got all these different rooms that they've sectioned off and let out to little small businesses, and one of them was this smokehouse. So there was this shout came in. It was on a drill night. So there was a shout came in, and it was AFA, which is an automatic fire alarm, Broome Hall, the smokehouse. It was like, so you kind of know that it's not particularly serious. It's unlikely that just an AFA by itself is going to be an actual fire, because there'd normally, if it was an actual fire, there'd normally be numerous backup calls by members of the public saying, blah blah blah's on fire, even though the alarm's gone off. So you've got that sort of heat show. This is usually an AFA is usually a bit of dust or a spider's got into one of the alarms and set it off. So there we all are. I think there was me, Eric. I don't think Harry. There was me, Eric, a couple of others in the back that were kind of new. We were like bloody children. We were going through the light. So another guy that we know, he was driving. And we were like, come on, let's go. And we were all in the back. You're supposed to have your seatbelts on. We didn't have seatbelts on. We were just all through this little hatch that you can see in the window. And we were all going, Nina, Nina, Nina. Like children going to this job. And then we get there, obviously we're all professional and, like normal. But you thought if they could have only seen us giving it all this like knee-nars, because the adrenaline rush you get when that alert goes off is mental, absolutely mental. If you could bottle it and sell it, it would be the best drug in the world, and you would be a multi-billionaire, because there's nothing like it. So but then one of my very first shouts after that, with a fatal plane crash up at where was it? Up at Shap. So an RAF plane had come down and just missed the village, and just missed I think it landed on the train tracks. So the West Coast Main Line comes through Penrith and through that part of our country. So it could have been an absolute mega disaster. I mean, obviously for the two people that were killed, it wasn't good, but it was. That was one of the first ones, because it gets into like, basically you're at work, your alert goes off, your pager goes off, you haven't got a clue where you go, what you're doing until you get to the fire station. And usually the first person in there, in the old days there was this printer system, so this printer prints off, it's usually RTC, persons reported, which means people in the car, casualties involved, blah blah blah, or this one, or a house fire. Persons reported means, is obviously, as it sounds, persons reported in a house fire, or AFA, and then it's the address and everything else. This came in as plane crash, multiple casualties, something. So it gets into the fire station. I'm about the second or third one in. You kind of grab your tally, you run up to the thing, you run through all your fire kits there, so your boots and that are already in position. You basically jump into them. Put your brace over, you leg it into the back of the fire engine, and away you go. And I gets in, I says, where are we going? Because obviously the printer, they put the print out onto the driver's seat, so whoever the first driver is that comes in, they know where they're going. So he goes, we're going to a plane crash. I was all, yeah, right. He said, no, we are. So there's a plane crashed at Shap. I was all, fucking hell. So we get there, and it was kind of like, we're going along, and there's like, you can imagine every single emergency service in the area was going there. So along the A6 going towards Shap, it was just covered with, there was every single appliance from Penrith. So basically Penrith in those days, we had Penrith 1 and Penrith 2, they were the two fire engines. And then there was a thing called the wrecker, which was like what was used for road traffic collisions, and it kind of had heavy duty cutting equipment in it and bits of stuff if it was like HGVs and stuff involved. And obviously, as you know, we had no training in planes coming down or anything like that. So we get there, and to be fair, there wasn't a lot to do, because I think one of the pilot, he sort of, even though he knew he was going to die, he'd managed to steer the plane away from the village as much as he could, and it kind of just crash landed into this sort of field at the side of the village. But I think it had kind of caught this car. There was a guy literally with his hair smoking when we got there, so we were obviously some of the first on the scene. So there was this guy standing there looking dazed and confused, his hair literally on fire. It was almost like a cartoon character. It was so bizarre, and he was like looking totally bewildered, as you would, as you can imagine. He was just going through his daily business, and this fucking plane crashes on him. And there was a small fire that we had to put out, but then apart from that, there was nothing, nothing to do. Obviously, there was body parts strewn all over the place, and it was kind of like it's always amazed me since I've been in the fire service about how strong the human body is, but also how weak it is at the same point. You can tug at your skin, and it won't break, will it? But yet something like that will happen, and it just pulverizes a person. So it was, like I say, it wasn't a lot to do. It was more a sort of macabre, ghoulish walkabout, circling body parts and making sure people didn't tread on them, and then we're just waiting because I think, to be fair, even the top brass that turned up didn't have a clue what to do, and because it was a military aircraft, we had to just sort of, there wasn't a lot to do. Like you say, we were identifying body parts, circling them with our bits of chalk, and then banging about. But obviously the Sky News turned up, all the fucking press turned up, and then these two fucking Black Hawk helicopters turned up, and all these guys in black got out, went to speak to whoever who was in charge, and it was like, all right lads, that's it, we go now. So it was like, obviously some sort of military guys had turned up, they took control of the situation, and off you go lads, you're not needed anymore. Not that we did anything anyway, but it was that was one of my very, very first jobs. And then after that there was so many crashes I went to, and obviously when we were on drill nights, it wasn't just hose running for the sake of it. We did do a lot of RTC training, because our station in particular, where we're situated, its main sort of bread and butter was RTCs. I'm not sure it is so much anymore. I don't. When I'm speaking to the lads nowadays, it's not what you done to crash. They haven't been to a lot of crashes recently. Not that I want them to, but there did seem to be a spate of crashes. And it got to the point where we were doing a thing called, there was me and a guy called Pete, and we used to do these road awareness courses. So we volunteered to do that because it was getting so ridiculous. It was almost every week there was a kid being either killed or seriously injured, life-changingly injured, I should say. And it was just beyond a joke. So I think it was a national thing, but basically there was me, Pete, and then we had a couple of traffic cops, and we would basically get people in, because what would happen if guys went on this road awareness training course, they would get their insurance cheaper. So a lot of them just turned up just so they could do that. And obviously there was a lot of girls, a lot of guys, 17, fresh, they knew it all, straight driving test, just passed. Yeah, I know how to drive. No, mate, you know how to pass a driving test, you don't know how to drive yet. So even though there's a lot of farmers around here, and those guys, have been driving since they could fucking walk, but nevertheless, it is a different kettle of fish, especially when you've got a car full of people. Maybe your tyres aren't the PSI that they're supposed to be. There's so many different factors that can cause a car to fail, and it's what it's supposed to do, let alone just idiots speeding. So we used to do these road awareness training courses, and I used to know a lot of the people, because obviously doing what I do in town, you'd recognise a lot of guys. And I think a lot of people, because they didn't know I was like a fireman as well, so they'd all been hanging around downstairs, and then I'd sort of walk around the corner with my fire uniform on. I'd go, all right. And they'd see me double take. That used to happen a lot, to be fair, especially when you get to someone's chimney fires at someone's house. You'd watch them double take you, because you'd have your helmet on and everything else. They'd be thinking, he looks like that guy. I recognise him. But so basically what we used to do was, there was some really sort of really well acted but gruesome type videos. They weren't all, I don't think there was any actual video footage from proper incidents. I think that would have been a bit too much, but there was, even though you can't see anything you like now on Twitter and fucking the internet, but this was pre those sort of days. So there'd be a load of guys, and they'd be all bravado and giving it all this and and we'd have to sort of put them in a place a bit, and you found that a lot of the time humour worked best for them. There was no point trying to meet them head on with sort of testosterone versus testosterone. It wasn't going to work. So you kind of just a bit of humour, not belittling them, but just making them think a little bit. Obviously, I found that the girls on the course were a lot more, they were there for the real reason. They wanted to learn something and obviously get cheaper insurance. The guys just wanted cheaper insurance, 9 times out of 10. But yeah, so basically we used to put the fear of God into them, make them think, and hopefully, I think we did make a bit of a difference. The crashes and that in the area did seem to come down. But yeah, one of my favourite sort of scenarios, we'd give this talk, and I'd be talking about people, customers that I've lost, proper. It wasn't like I wasn't making it up, and I think that hit home a lot, because it was somebody that that person knew. They knew me as Tatty Tim, the guy who sells potatoes in town, and here I am talking about customers like them, the same age as them, that I'd put in body bags and sent off to the morgue. And one of my favourite parts of the evening, as coolish as it sounds, but I used to get a body bag from out of one of the appliances, because obviously we carry body bags on the appliances, and I'd lay it out in front of everybody, and the room would just go stone dead, absolutely quiet as a grave. And I'd just say to them, the last thing I want to do, and I'd point to every single one of them, look them all in the eye, and I said, the last thing I want to do is put you in one of these. And you could hear a pin drop when I did that. And it kind of, I think it hit home, when they're seeing it, they'll have never seen a body bag before. They don't know. They know what it is, but they'll have never seen one in real life. And when somebody that they kind of know to a degree is pointing that out to them, I think it did hit home a bit. And I have had people in the past that have come up to me and said, wow, that really made me think, thanks for that, it kind of slowed me down a bit, and this, that and the other. So it's nice when you get a little bit of feedback like that, and you know that you're giving up your time and you're helping people. So yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed that, really enjoyed it. So like I said earlier, like the bread and butter for Penrith Station used to be crashes, and in my role on the job I became the casualty carer, which means that when we get to a job, normally how it works is you're sitting in a certain position on a fire engine, and so there's usually two in the front, obviously the driver, the OIC, which is the officer in command, and then the 4 people in the back. And you've all got, depending on what position you're sitting in, depending on what you do, what particular job, I won't bore you with those sort of details, but my job usually entailed, depending on where I was sitting, I was always the casualty carer, because as you're probably aware, I can talk a lot and I can put people at ease. So what I tended to do, what the job as the casualty carer involved, was that you would get into the vehicle with the person and you would help them deal with the situation that they're in. So, which is kind of an interesting situation to be in, because you've got to remember these people now are in probably the most stressful situation they've ever been in their life. They might be on their last legs, they might literally be about to die, they might be in the most serious pain they've ever been in their life, they might be in agony, they might be lying next to one of their loved ones that's already dead. There's so many different scenarios I could go through. So basically what you have to do is try and just calm that person as much as you can, give them some human contacts and explain what's going on, and just make the position that they're already in a lot less stressful and a lot less insane for them as it possibly can be, while the rest of the team is around doing their job and cutting you out, and the paramedics are doing their job at the same time. So it was something that I really enjoyed, because I enjoy, that sounds totally bizarre, doesn't it? But I enjoy meeting people. Oh yeah, good job I'm married. Imagine I put that on my Tinder. Hi, I enjoy meeting people in crashes. Swipe left, swipe right. So, but no, you know what I'm saying. I kind of like, I love people. You know what I mean? And if I can help somebody in their probably the worst hourest of need that they're ever going to be in, and just help them get through it, then it's fantastic. I loved it, and I did really, really enjoy it. It's nice to know you've made a difference to somebody. You get into the seat. 9 times out of 10, you'd have to take your helmet off. You clamber into all sorts of mad, crazy positions. Sometimes the car could be on its roof, on its side, smashed up against a tree. There's so many different things. But you'd get in and you'd sort of assess the situation, because I did become the first aid. I've always had an interest in first aid and sort of, not medicine, but first aid. So when the opportunity arose to become first aid instructor, I jumped at that chance. So I became the first aid instructor for the station. And as time went on, I also then became a trauma technician, which is a more advanced sort of form of a first aider, where you learn nowhere near paramedic skills. I'm not even going to attempt to say that it was anything like that, but a bit more than your basic first aid, shall we say. So and only in sort of trauma situations. And these are things that I've actually used in sort of civilian life at the stall a few times as well, as people might be aware of. So, it's fared me well in real life situations. Not that crashes aren't real life, but you know what I'm saying. So, yeah, so you'd get in, and it was kind of like, I found that, at first it was really odd, because like I say, you're not giving any training or anything like this, so you're just using your own life skills and your own sort of common sense. So, and I'd imagine some people would find it extremely difficult to do. You're there, someone's screaming or crying. 9 times out of 10 people aren't, it's really weird. It's usually the people on the outside looking in that are more hysterical than the people actually in the situation. So 9 times out of 10, it's not that difficult to, strike a rapport with somebody. A lot of the times there's a major head injury, so they're kind of in and out of consciousness. But I tended to find that if I took my gloves off and I got actually human contact with them, if you could hold somebody's hand, you would find, they'd be squeezing your hand, and they'd be kind of, you'd get that, it would make them feel better. You'd tell them your name, you'd ask them all the usual stuff like, what's your name? Do you know what day it is? Where were you going? What were you doing? All that sort of stuff. What's your birthday? You want any medication? All the sort of ins and outsy sort of stuff. But then you just starts talking about, you might notice something in the car, and you like a football sticker or something. So even though I'm not into football, but you'd kind of, so you're into Newcastle, and you just sort of try and take their mind off it, and then you constantly call their name and reassure them that, because, and you could feel it, that people did, respond to it. And a lot of the times I was the last person that they sort of touched or spoke to, which is kind of, that's quite moving in itself, to think that, you're their last point of contact on this planet. So it was another interesting part of my sort of career in the fire service. But it was nice. It's nice, like I always say, it's just really, really nice to help people, in their hour of need. And another thing we did from that, learning from that, I became a heart start instructor. So it meant that part of the first aid instructor course that I did, there was this other one that was kind of basically what it says, a heart start instructor, and it was to go round sort of local organisations. So as I said earlier, I was connected to the Lions. I was part of the Lions for a while. So using those connections with the Lions, we then managed to get a load of sort of youth groups and sort of groups of people together, and we could use the fire station as a base. And so we got people in, and a few times a week, maybe once a fortnight, we'd get a group of people in, and I'd basically teach them sort of life-saving, sort of heart start sort of techniques, what to look for if people are having a heart attack or a stroke, what to do. And we'd have these little, the little Annies, the little resource Annies. There was a number of those that people could try on. And that was good as well, because it was, people were given instruction from someone in the uniform. And I think, as anal as it probably sounds, if someone is in a uniform giving you instruction, are you more likely to take notice of it from somebody who's been there and done it rather than someone in civvies? Should I say yes? I mean, perhaps you would, or just someone who's there teaching you first aid. I don't know, but anyway, it was what it was, and it's what I did, and it was that was another thing that I really enjoyed. So, just teaching people skills to hopefully make it a bit less traumatic for them if they ever came across that situation. At least they'd probably think back to something that I taught them and make a difference in somebody's life. To me, it's amazing that it isn't taught at schools. I mean, the shit you learn at school, the crap I was taught at school, that has absolutely had no bearing in my life whatsoever. And yet, if they put in the curriculum some sort of first aid, sort of situation where each year, not just a one-off, but each year, so it's basically drummed into you for the rest of your life, this is what you do in this situation. Imagine how many lives could be potentially saved instead of teaching you shit fucking algebra that you're never going to learn, you're never going to use in your whole life, unless you go into that field, which will be what, 1 or 2% of the people that actually are in the class. So anyway, that's my little rant. But yeah, so the firefighter years. God, that was a long episode, wasn't it? Are you still there? Hello? Wake up! I haven't finished yet. No, I have, honestly. Yep, that's it. Another episode over. Like I said, that was a bit of a long one, this one. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen. It really does mean a lot. Thank you so much. And thank you as well for all the amazing feedback I'm getting. It's like, wow, I really didn't think it would be as good as it has been. And hopefully it can only get better. It's amazing. Thank you so much. So if there's anything you want me to talk about, or if I've touched any nerves and people want to have a talk about anything, please feel free to contact me. You can contact me through the website if you're listening to it on this, which has got the email address on. I'm going to try and put the links on with this episode onto all my socials, so you can contact me through any of the DMs on there if you want, or basically come and see me in town. It's funny because I tried to copy and paste the links to everything, but it wouldn't copy and paste. It was like, what? It's like, why wouldn't it do it? And I just gave up. So I will persevere and try and do that again for this episode. But yeah, if you're enjoying it, please carry on listening. Tell your friends, tell your family, and thanks again for listening. It really does mean a lot. So till next time, from the Caravan of Love, it's goodbye from me, your host, Tatty Tim. Bye for now. Love you all. Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, Tatty Tim has left the building.